Okay, so today we're going to be talking about how we can find the whole in a percent problem. So example 1 says Bree scored 90% on her math test. Out of the total possible points on the test, her score was 135 points. And we want to figure out how many points were possible on the test. So we're trying to find our whole here. We know our part, we know that our part was 135 points, but we want to figure out of how many total points was the test really made of. So we want to think about 90% of what number is 135. So the first thing we're going to do here is write this in an equation format. So we have 90%. Then we have of what number? So first I want to highlight this word of here. What operation do we know of means? What can I put here for my operation? So by now we should know that of means to multiply. So I'll put my little multiplication dot there. Of what number? And we need to think about when this is saying what number, we don't know what this is. This is an unknown. We have no idea what the total possible points in the test were. So we're going to use a variable here. So I'm going to pick P. You can pick any letter, remember, when you're using a variable. Then the last part, it says is 35. So I'm going to highlight this word is here. If you guys remember when we talked about solving equations, we said that is means equal. So that's something that we want to remember. Is means equal. And then we have 135. So this reads 90% of what number of our unknown is 135. So now we can go ahead and we can solve this so that we can figure out how many possible points were on the test. So the first thing we're going to do, 90%, we want to turn this into a decimal. So by now, hopefully we know when we're turning percent into decimal, we can either write it as a fraction first and then divide, or you can just go ahead and do 90 divided by 100. So when we do 90 divided by 100, we have 0.9. And if it makes more sense to you, I just kind of wanted to review this in the last video that I made. You can also just move the decimal place to the left 2 times. So you can either divide by 100, or you can take our decimal place, which we know when there's a percent, we kind of have this invisible decimal place because you don't really need it. You can move it to the left 2 times, 1, 2. So that's the same as dividing by 100. So we have 0.9 times our unknown, which I'm just going to take away this decimal place, that multiplication because we don't really need it. So 0.9 times P equals 135. So I want you guys to think about, we have multiplication here. Think about our one-step equation. How do we undo multiplication? What operation do we have to use? So we need to divide here. So we're going to divide by 0.9 to both sides. These will cancel out. I'm going to move this over here so I can have some more space. So I'm going to have P is equal to 135 divided by 0.9. So go ahead and calculate this out. How many points were possible? How many points did we have total on the test? So total on the test, we had 150 points. So that is our whole. So we can go back up and we can say, so 90% of 150 is 135. And you can always go back up and check yourself. You can multiply 90% times 150, and that will give you 135. So you could do 0.9 times 150 and check yourself and say, does this equal 135? All right, let's try one. Bree took another math test and scored 152 points, which was 95% of the total points possible. So how many points were possible on the test? So let's go ahead and write the equation together, and I'm going to have you guys solve it out. So we know we have 95% of our unknown. We don't know our total possible points. So actually I'm going to turn this of into what we know is a multiplication. We don't know the total number of points, so we're going to use a variable there. I'm just going to use P again for points. And then we know this is 152 because she got 152 points. So go ahead and solve this out. See how many total points were on the test. So to solve this out, the first thing we want to do is we want to turn 95% into a decimal. So we're going to divide by 100 or move the decimal place over twice. You have your invisible decimal here, move it over twice, 1, 2, and you have 0.95. You could also just do 95 divided by 100 on your calculator. So you have 0.95p equals 152. To undo multiplication, we want to divide. So we're going to divide by 0.95 to both sides. These cancel out. So you have P is equal to 152 divided by 0.95. And when you calculate this out, you should get 160. So 160 points were the total number of possible points she could have gotten on that test. All right, let's try another one. So example 2, the students in one classroom sold tickets to the talent show. They sold 200% of the amount of tickets that they sold last year. How many tickets did the students sell last year? Find the number of which 200% is 40. So we're trying to find how many they sold last year because they sold 200% of that amount. And they know that one classroom sold a total of 40 tickets. So let's solve this out. So we have 200%. So I want you guys to turn 200% into a decimal. Well, not actually a decimal because it is more than 100%. So it's going to be a whole number. But if you don't know what it is off the top of your head, go ahead and put it in your calculator. 200 divided by 100, which is going to be 2. So we'll have 2 times n equals 40. So I want you guys to go ahead and solve this out. What is our n here? How many tickets did the student sell last year? So to solve this out, we need to divide by 2 to both sides. These 2's cancel out. So n equals 40 divided by 2, which we know is 20. So last year they sold 20 tickets. All right, you guys have 2 problems I want you to try. So A, 300% of what number is 180, and then B, 0.3% of what number is 24. All right, so A, again, the first thing we need to do, 300%, we need to divide by 100, but we know it's 300% is going to be 3. Of what number? So of means multiply. We don't know what our number is here, so that's going to be an unknown. So 3 times n equals 180. To undo multiplication, we're going to divide to both sides. So we're going to do 180 divided by 3, which is 60. So this sentence reads that 300% of 60 is 180. And then B, so 0.3%. So some of you guys might be thinking, well, that's already in a decimal form, but that's a little trick. It's still in a percent. This is still a percent. So we still need to divide by 100. So if you guys put this in your calculator, 0.3 times, 0.3 divided by 100, it's 0.003. And again, if you want to move the decimal place over twice, 1, 2, add another 0 and move the decimal place to the left. So 0.003, again, of what number? We don't know what that is. It's an unknown. Is or equals 24. So to undo my multiplication, we're going to divide to both sides. These cancel out. So you have 24 divided by 0.003. So n equals 24 divided by 0.003. 8,000. So this would read that 0.003 of 0.3%, I'm sorry, of 8% is 24.